Hello there, we are your hosts Vivek and Pavitra from the Agile Coach podcast. In this podcast, we bring fresh perspectives to you through our interviews with thought leaders in Agile coaching, facilitation, business analysis, and product management roles. Enjoy. Hey everybody, today we have Rye Hawley. Rye is a Scrum Master, former Agile business analyst. I met actually when Rye was in college, and Rye has since then, done a few different roles, and now is a Scrum Master and is doing really, really well in his career. He has also come on as a mentor in the trainings that we do, and Rye, I've actually seen you grow so much since we first met. So I'm really excited to go into your mindset, the work that you do as a Scrum Master. So we'll get started. Background, Roy, you went to Luther College. You were captain of a dive and swim team. You studied HR, did a few internships there, and business management. And I'm sure there's more. So let's just start with what do you currently do? What kind of things are you working on?
Yeah, definitely. And appreciate Vivek, you having me on. Definitely look up to you quite a bit and appreciate all that you got going here too. So it's an honor to be here. In terms of my current role, I'm currently a Scrum Master at a company called Net Health. Basically we focus on EHRs, electronic health records. They're a company providing software for lots of clinics in the therapy space. And so I focus on the billing department with my two teams that I lead.
Nice. So you are a Scrum Master for two teams. And recently, I think you've shared that you're somebody left and you're taking on a few extra teams too. So give us like a day-to-day, week-to-week of what your role at Net Health is like.
Yeah. So day to day, there's a lot that goes on. Meetings are really few and far apart sometimes, but definitely you have to context switch between areas that you're focusing in on those meetings. So what the day to day looks like is tuning into my team's daily stand-ups, kicking off the day with those. If we're on a week of regression, then the meetings are a little lighter due to just the load of work our development team's doing. If it's a turnover week, we see a lot more meetings come up and cadence is there. So on turnover week, we have our plannings, our typical Scrum ceremonies. We operate in a scaled environment. We utilize Nexus as an agile scaled platform there. So
Yeah, definitely. So this is, and kind of give us a little flavor of where your teams are like, what your engineering teams are like, your teammates.
Yeah. So currently, actually at Net Health, specifically in this product that I'm working with, we onboarded a majority of offshore members in our department. So what our team dynamic and makeup looks like is we have a handful of developers per team, but the majority of our QA is offshore. So we have to work within a time box, basically 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern time. That's the time we get with them. So we try to utilize that and be as effective as we can be. Alongside the QA and devs that we have our designated product owner on each team.
Nice. So that's what you're doing right now. So let's kind of hear your transition story. So you studied business and HR. And walk us through like how you kind of why you wanted to go to the tech side and what you did to land your go into business analysis first.
Yeah, it's a great question. And I actually studied HR/English. So English was a degree I graduated in as well, alongside business management. So what's always interested me and drawn me towards just working with people and teams has been that interpersonal and leadership type qualities that I see throughout. And I've had that experience just, as you mentioned, just captaining teams through college. And I really like that. I like camaraderie. I like working with others and really lifting up others, seeing the talent and value that they can bring to the table. So initially I was looking down HR route, interested in recruiting, kind of identifying people's skills and talents and where they could best line up at a company. But I gravitated towards that leadership role, and it really, I was appealed to it because, I could help teams out. I could really be a servant leader and change agent, as many people say in Scrum Master roles. And also learning those hard and technical skills where you can truly see the value you're adding and bringing and identifying the gaps to bettering teams.
Yeah. So, right, in my conversation that I remember, you're in beginning of your senior year. You've had a lot of things going on, and I walked you through the track of what it takes to break into tech, and I was really impressed. I actually didn't know if you're going to do that, but I was really impressed on how you prioritize your learning and actually like really made it happen. So if you can kind of walk us through like your mindset, how did you actually create time, space for learning, going through so many new stuff, and locking in a really interesting role as a business analyst before even you graduated?
Yeah, definitely. We'll dig into that. So for me, starting senior year, I made that pivot. I realized I wasn't wanting to pursue HR anymore, and I only had a year left before kind of making that transition. So carving out time and prioritizing the week and slots I had, among school, among sports, among work, right? It was and among hanging out with friends and having a life on campus. I think it definitely took some intentionality behind it. I really had to sit down with myself and look at my time and where it's being spent, kind of create a time budget in a way. So those courses, the cohort I went through, the certifications, classes I went through, and the experience I've had balancing that business analyst role alongside it took some extra intentionality and sacrifice, but it all paid off. And it's definitely great to have that type of leverage coming out of college too, if you can ongoingly get that experience your senior year. So
and kind of share like it paid off, right? Because when you're age, earlier, right after college, you're able to lock in a 6-figure position. So kind of walk us through like, what was that like? Were you excited or,
Yeah, of course I was excited. I think it's a bit unheard of to kind of be fortunate to land a role like that. I was even more fortunate just about the company being the first company I had experience with. They were just really forgiving in a way for me being fresh in that area, but also really, gave me lots of room for improvement and opportunities to grow. So I'd recommend when people are in this interviewing stage is to really focus in on what you're bringing to a company, but also like how you're adding value to them. And also you have to think like the company's in a position where they need someone to fill this gap that they have. And so what can you bring to the table? Focusing on the specifics there. I think that's what really helped and leveraged my success in interviews.
Yeah. Any other tips? You did really well on those interview rounds, despite of not having a lot of experience. So what else did you do to lock in the multiple round 2, round 3 interviews?
Obviously every company interviews differently, right? They can be anywhere from 1 to 2 rounds to 6 to 7 rounds I've seen nowadays. So interpersonal skills are definitely things you can fall back on, aside from technical, but at the same time, being exposed to what the market's looking like and what the specific tools and platforms leveraged in your specific role, just having that awareness really helps in conversation. You can use that as examples, and also just keeping in mind and being sharp about how you brought value to your teams or previous experiences at different companies too.
Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. Thanks for giving that insight. So now I want to do change gear and kind of go into your role a little bit. As a Scrum Master now, like what was I'm curious, like what was your fear, like going into engineering teams and working with them? Like, what did you imagine that was going to be like? And what was it actually like right now, actually doing it?
Yeah, definitely. That's a great question. I remember the top fear I had when first starting out in this role was working with such mature teams. Also in that type of leadership position and facilitator type of role, I had to manage people that were multiple years ahead of me. And I know it's, all based on experience, but that initially was a fear for me. And I'm sure a lot of people can relate with that. But then you have to step back and realize, like, okay, what am I bringing to the table? What kind of skills and talents am I bringing to this team so I can help them? And really realizing I'm the subject matter expert in this area. I can help them in this area. So I quickly got over that fear when I began, but
yeah. And I want to go into, you're a servant leader. You are helping, launch these new teams, removing or helping remove impediments for the team. Like, what do those impediments look like in your roles?
Yeah, impediments can come in the form of many things, especially in this day and age. I think, just talking about my teams and what impediments look like, it could be anything from, a failed server or a database or some technical blockage that our developers experiencing. So that could simply mean connecting that individual with a subject matter expert that can help troubleshoot it. That could be an example of an impediment. Another thing could be, say an escalated issue comes to a team. How do you prioritize it? What's our work process and workflow look like to prioritize it correctly? That sometimes looks like an impediment as well. And you can step in there and really direct that.
Yeah. Yeah, right. I'm curious, like, what's because you're in a really interesting space. You're working with engineers and quality assurance folks out in India. Your business team is here. You've got your customers are here. So how did you, let's say you hear something like an impediment on a daily stand-up. So how do you go about researching, learning, preparing, and then facilitating those meetings? Like, what was your process like?
Yeah, that's so if something is brought up, there's a great time to bring it up because that's something that happens on a day-to-day cadence, right? Usually first thing in the morning. So if something gets brought up either on the QA side or our engineering side, troubleshooting, what that looks like is, first of all, seeing where they left off and how far they got before the issue came up. And then taking that and going to a subject matter expert who may have more insights into it. If it's something I can handle, then doing the research myself and providing that solution. But it's typically connecting the dots or, part of my role is actually submitting tickets to, we have a software that we use to submit tickets and basically track, updates and like just commentary about this issue that's happening. So part of my role is submitting tickets and following up and monitoring those.
Just being on top. Yeah. Sounds good. Yeah. And another role is you're facilitating different meetings. I want to do a deep dive around a retrospective. I'm just curious, how do you prepare for a retrospective? How do you facilitate those for your teams?
Yeah. So retrospective for us, we work on our iteration is a 2-week process. So at the end, the retro is the event, the Scrum ceremony that closes the sprint, right? And so what we're trying to get out of those retrospectives are at least one actionable item, right? And through that process, we're asking questions like what went well, what didn't go well, how could we improve? And recently, it was actually just this last week, I ran a retrospective for one of my teams that we're juggling a lot of priorities, had a lot of things in the air, a lot of balls in the air. So really staying tunnel visioned on some of those priorities was the best and most effective way for that team to progress. So the template I used and focused on is something called a North Star. So if you're familiar with that, it's basically like the team should just choose one vision. What's our top priority? What's our North Star that we can be working towards? And so really dwindling that down. Okay, what is it? Identifying it, moving on to how is it going with it? Just open-ended question. How do people feel like this is going? And then digging a little deeper and then trying to figure out, okay, what are we coming across? What's preventing us from delivering this right now? Right? What's preventing us from getting this project across the line and then finding an action item from that. So it's kind of peeling back the onion layer in a way when you get to those larger projects.
Yeah. Another question that I have for you, Rai, is like, I'm sure, in your teams, there's people joining in, and leaving, and, there might be some misunderstanding, or even conflict, right? So how do you, as a facilitator,
Yeah.
what have you done, to really help teams become, a group of people become team, and, how have you helped like teams improve?
Yeah, that's a great question, Vivek. Recently, we've experienced a bit of turnover, a bit of churn on our teams, and so
Mhm.
best practice I've realized is to treat every onboarding individual onto the team as if it's a normal person coming on, right? So
Yeah.
going through the processes of, okay, this is how we apply Agile, this is how we apply Scrum in this company and
Mm.
this specific team as well. So going back to the basics,
Yeah.
doing that onboarding training. Further than that, I think what really unites a team is having a strong working agreement and keeping
Hmm.
that visible and upfront for people.
Yeah.
Um, whether that's pinned to a Slack channel or brought up every retrospective, that, and also aside from that working agreement document, I've noticed having definitions of ready and definition of done really laid out really prevents workflow hiccups or impediments that
Hmm.
happen. You can go back to that and look at it. Are we following this?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. Um, let's see. So now you're already a Scrum Master. You're doing all kind of things. You're learning all kind of things, right?
Yeah.
So what are some things that you would share with yourself, like, senior year, right? Obviously, you work extremely hard. You prioritize. You did multiple round of interviews. But what advice would you give it to yourself when you are like studying and planning to become a BA and a Scrum Master?
Yeah.
If anything you can think of.
Yeah, thanks for that question. I think retrospectively, when I look at in terms of where I was stressed out about all the things out there in the role that you need to be fluent and effective with and understanding fully. Right. So I guess
Yeah.
one piece of advice I'd give to myself would be have grace with myself and my learning.
Mm.
IT and tech, it's always growing. It's always changing. Every company's
Mm.
almost on the cutting edge, right? There's new
Yeah.
things coming out all the time.
Yeah.
So, while it's important to learn all the tools out there that can help you succeed in your roles, at the same time, we're continuously learning, right? Even in my role
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And last question, right, is like, what's your what's advice do you have for really yourself as a current Scrum Master for if you are like really doing A+, like what are your aspiration that you want to do to kind of grow in your role, or what are you doing
Yeah.
right now? Yeah.
Yeah. Something I'm doing right now that I've been a lot more intentional about since joining this company has been not settling in the systems and ways in which the teams work. So
Mm.
bringing new ideas to the table and doing some part of my role is providing potential shifts or new perspectives to how we could be doing a certain process previously to be more effective at it. So staying
Yeah.
on top of like my knowledge in this space so I can
Nice.
best bring that value to the team I'm working with right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Thank you so much for your point of view. I really appreciate this. Cannot wait to do another part where we can do a deep dive on some of these topics. But thank you so
Yeah.
much. I really enjoyed the conversation, man.
Likewise, Vivek. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, that's a wrap with this episode. Thank you for listening till the end. We hope these podcasts are providing value on your Agile journey. If you haven't visited our website, theagilecoach.com, we highly suggest you for other courses and supporting material on your journey. You can also get access to our self-paced courses or learn more about the live training that we provide to become a Scrum Master, Product Owner, Product Manager. With that, we will see you on the next episode. Love and best wishes from the Agile Coach.